Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiri Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 12, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, text 23 onwards. So, although the title is Cleansing of Gundicha temple, but before that, all the devotees are still trying to get Maharaj Pratap Rudra to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they all went to see Mahaprabhu. And Nityanand Prabhu, on behalf of everybody, he spoke to them. So he spoke with Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu says, Toma sabar icha e amarela hai raja ke milila miliha iha katake tegiya. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I can understand that you all desire to take me to Katak to see the king. So previous verse was, so internally he was happy, but still he wished to speak some harsh words. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is naturally the reservoir of all kindness, and as soon as he heard the statement made by the king, his heart immediately softened. Thus the Lord was ready to go to see the king even at Katak. He did not even consider allowing the king to come from Katak to Jagannath Puri to see him. It is significant that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind that he was ready to go see the king at Katak. Apparently, it was never expected that the king wanted to see the Lord at his palace. But by way of being externally harsh, the Lord indicated that if all the devotees so desired, he would go to Katak to see the king. Paramartha Thaku ka loke karibe nindana, loke rahu damodar karibe bharsana. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, what to speak of spiritual advancement? All the people will blaspheme me. And what to speak of all the people, Damodar would chastise me. Damodar Pandit would sometimes really chastise Mahaprabhu if he thought Mahaprabhu was not following the rules properly. Toma sabar agyayami na mili raja re, Damodar kahe yabe mili tabe tare. I shall not meet the king at the request of all the devotees, but I shall do so if Damodar will give his permission. So from the spiritual point of view, sannyasi is strictly forbidden to see materialistic people, especially a king who's always engaged in counting pounds, shilling and pence. Indeed, the meeting between a sannyasi and a king is always considered abominable. A sannyasi is always subjected to public criticism, and a small fault on his part is taken seriously by the public. People actually expect a sannyasi to preach and not take part in any social or political matters. If a sannyasi is subject to public criticism, his preaching will not be fruitful. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically wanted to avoid such criticism so that his preaching work would not be hampered. It so happened that while the Lord was talking to his disciples at that time, the devotee Damodar Pandit was present. This Damodar Pandit was a very faithful devotee and a staunch lover of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whenever there was anything that might touch or taint the character of the Lord, Damodar Pandit would immediately point it out, not even considering the exalted position of the Lord. It is sometimes said that fools rush in where angels dare not. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out Damodar Pandit's foolishness in coming forward to criticize the Lord. This is why the Lord stated that if Damodar Pandit would give him permission, he would go to see the king. There was a deep meaning in this statement, for it is a warning that Damodar should not dare criticize the Lord anymore. for it was not befitting his position as a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considered the guide and spiritual master of all the devotees living with him. Damodar Pandit was one of them, and the Lord rendered Damodar Pandit a special favor by warning him to avoid criticizing him any further. A devotee or a disciple should never attempt to criticize the Lord or his representative, the spiritual master. So Mahaprabhu was really tricky in saying all this, that if Damodar gives me permission, I shall go. Because Damodar Pandit was the one, as Prabhupada said, he would criticize Mahaprabhu all the time. Not all the time, but here Prabhupada also says that he was a staunch lover of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So anything he would, if he would see that might touch or taint the character of the Lord, Damodar Pandit would immediately point it out, not even considering the exalted position of the Lord. So both ways. Yes, he was wrong to criticize the Lord. He is the Supreme Lord, Mahaprabhu is, but at the same time, because of his love for Mahaprabhu, he would dare to say these things. But Prabhupada says, in the end, a devotee or disciple should never attempt to criticize the Lord or his representative, the spiritual master, because that might commit an offense. Damodar kahe tumi swatantra Ishvara, kartavya kartavya sab tomar gochara. Damodar immediately replied, "My Lord, you are the fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since everything is known to you, you know what is permissible and what is not permissible. Ami konak shudra jeev toma ke vidhi diba, apani milibe tare, tahao dekhiba. I am merely an insignificant jiva. So what power do I have to give directions to you? By your own personal choice, you will meet with the king. I shall see it. Raja tomare sneha kari, tumi sneha vasha. Tara sneha karive, tare tomare parasha. The king is very much attached to you, and you are feeling affection and love towards him. Thus, I can understand by virtue of the king's affection for you, you will touch him. Yadyapi Ishwar tumi parama swatantra, tathapi swabhave hav prem paratantra. Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and completely independent, still you are dependent on the love and affection of your devotees. That is your nature. Nityananda kahe aiche hai kon jana, ye tumhare kahe kar raja darshan. Nityananda Prabhu then said, who is there in the three worlds who can ask you to see the king? Kintu anuragi loker swabhav ekahaya, ishta na paile nij prana se chadaya. Still, isn't it the nature of an attached man to give up his life if he does not attain his desired object? Yagika Brahmani sab taha te pramana, Krishna lagi pati age chadile ka prana. For instance, some of the wives of the Brahmins who were performing sacrifices gave up their lives in the presence of their husbands for the sake of Krishna. This refers to the day Lord Shri Krishna and his cowherd boys and flocks of animals were present in the pasturing grounds near Mathura. At that time, the cowherd boys, being a little hungry, requested food, and Lord Krishna asked them to go to the Brahmins who were engaged nearby in performing yajna or sacrifice, and to get some food from that yajna. Being so ordered by the Lord, all the cowherd boys went to the Brahmins and asked them for food, but they were denied. After this, the cowherd boys begged food from the wives of the Brahmins. All these wives were very much devoted to Lord Krishna in spontaneous love. And as soon as they heard the request of the cowherd boys and understood that Krishna wanted some food, they immediately left the place of sacrifice. They were very much chastised for this by their husbands, and they were ready to give up their lives. It's the nature of a pure devotee to sacrifice his love for the transcendental service of the Lord. So Nityanand Prabhu is reminding him of that pastime with Krishna. So we studied that in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Nityanand Prabhu saying, your devotee, King Pratap Rudra, is ready to give up his life if he doesn't get to see you. So this is the mood of devotees. Then Nityanand Prabhu, he gives another solution. एक युक्ति याचे यदि कर अवधान तुमी न मिलिले हतारे रहे तार प्राण. Nityanand Prabhu then submitted one suggestion for the Lord's consideration. There is a way, he suggested, by which you need not meet the king, but which would enable the king to continue living. एक बहिर्वास यदि देह कृपाकारी ताहा पाय प्राण राखे तुम्हारा आशधारी. If you, out of your mercy, send one of your outer garments to the king would live hoping to see you sometime in the future. So this is a tact Nityanand Prabhu adopted. Sri Nityanand Prabhu was thus very tactfully suggesting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give a piece of his old clothing to the king. Even though the king was not to meet the Lord, the king would then be pacified by receiving such a cloth. The king was very anxious to see the Lord, yet it was not possible for the Lord to see him. So just to resolve the situation, Nityanand Prabhu suggested that the Lord send an old piece of clothing. Thus the king would understand that the Lord was showing mercy to him. The king would then not do anything drastic like giving up his life or becoming a mendicant. So that's a nice suggestion. प्रभु कहे तुम्हें सब परम विद्वान यही भाला है से कर समाधान. The Lord said, since you all are very learned personalities, whatever you decide, I shall accept. तबे नित्यानंद गोसाई गोविंदेर पाश मागी लैला प्रभु एक बहिर्वास. Lord Nityanand Prabhu then obtained an external garment used by the Lord by requesting it from Govinda. Sei bahirvasha sarvabhauma pasha dila sarvabhauma sei vasra rajare pathaila. Thus Nityanand Prabhu delivered the old cloth into the care of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sent it to the king. Vasrapaya Rajara Haila Ananditamana Prabhu Rupa Kari Kare Vasvera Pujana. When the king received the old cloth, he began to worship it exactly as he would worship the Lord personally. This is also the conclusion of the Vedic injunctions. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the absolute truth, everything in relation to him is on the same platform. The king had great affection for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and although he did not see the Lord, he had nonetheless already attained the conclusion of devotional service. Immediately upon receiving the cloth from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the king began to worship it, accepting it as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord's clothing, bedding, slippers, and everything required as an ordinary necessity are all transformations of Shesha, the expansion of Sri Baldev, who serves as Lord Vishnu's bed. See, everything related to the Lord is on the same platform, absolute platform. It's all spiritual. Thus, the cloth and other paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are but other forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything connected to the Lord is worshipable. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs us that just as Krishna is worshipable, Krishna's place, Vrindavan, is also worshipable. And as Vrindavan is worshipable, similarly the paraphernalia in Vrindavan, the trees, roads, river, everything is worshipable. A pure devotee thus sings, Jai Jai Vrindavan Vasi Yataja. All glories to the residents of Vrindavan. If a devotee has a staunch devotional attitude, all these conclusions will be awakened or revealed within the heart. So that's why Shveta Upanishad says, only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Thus, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Prataprudra and other devotees, we should learn to worship everything belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is referred to by Lord Shiva as Tadiyanam. Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param. Tasmat Paratram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. So Tadiya means anything that is used in the service of the Lord, anything and anybody also. O Devi, the most exalted system of worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Greater than that is the worship of Tadiya, or anything belonging to Vishnu. Shri Vishnu is Satchidananda Vigraha. Similarly, the most confidential servant of Krishna, the spiritual master, and all devotees of Vishnu are Tadiya. The Satchidananda Vigraha, Guru, Vaishnavas, and things used by them must be considered Tadiya, and without a doubt, worshipable by all living beings. So this is how we should respect anything, any prasadi that we receive from the Lord, from the temple. It is worshipable actually, and in the same way as we worship Krishna. Ramananda Rai tabe dakshina haite aila Prabhu sange rahite raja ke nivedila. After returning from his service in South India, Ramananda Rai requested the king to allow him to remain with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tabe Raja Santoshe Tahare Agya Dila Apani Milan Lagi Sadhite Lagila. When Ramananda requested the king to allow him to stay with the Lord, the king immediately gave him permission with great satisfaction. As for the king himself, he began to solicit Ramananda Rai to make a meeting arrangement. So, he already had a Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and all the devotees, they petitioned to the Lord, but now Ramananda Rai, king is asking Ramananda Rai, please make some arrangements. Mahaprabhu Mahakripa karen tumhare more mili bare avashya sadhibe tahare. The king told Ramananda Rai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very merciful to you. Therefore, please solicit my meeting with him without fail. Ek sange dui jan kshetra jabe aila Ramananda Rai tabe Prabhu re milila. The king and Ramananda Rai returned together to Jagannath Kshetra Puri, and Sri Ramananda Rai met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada prema bhakti jana ilara jara prasanga paya aiche kahevara. At that time, Ramananda Rai informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the ecstatic love of the king. Indeed, as soon as there was some opportunity, he repeatedly informed the Lord about the king. Rajamantri Ramananda Vyavahare Nipuna Rajapriti Kahi Dravila Prabhura Manam. Sri Ramananda Rai was indeed a diplomatic minister for the king. His general behavior was very expert, and simply by describing the king's love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gradually softened the Lord's mind. A diplomat in the material world knows how to deal with people, especially in political affairs. Some of the great devotees of the Lord, like Ramananda Rai, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Rup Goswami, were government officers and had a background of very opulent householder life. Consequently, they knew how to deal with people. In many instances, we have seen the diplomacy of Rup Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Ramananda Rai employed in the service of the Lord. So, there was some incidents. When Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle were to be arrested by government officials. Why they were to be arrested? So what they used to do, they used to collect taxes on behalf of the government. But the government was Muslim government, and these were Vaishnavas. So they were collecting taxes, but there were some envious people in the government, and they complained to the king that these two brothers are keeping so much of money for themselves. They're not giving you all the taxes. So the king sent the soldiers to arrest them. And the soldiers came to the house, and the Senapati also came. And Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle, they just ran away. And these soldiers, they arrested Raghunath Das Goswami. Now, Raghunath Das Goswami, his parents were jamidars, so he knew diplomacy. So when he was arrested in the prison house, he made friendship with the person in charge. And then he said, "See, I'm just a little boy. You captured me. I don't have any money. And you and my parent, father and my uncle, you're like brothers. You're going to sort it out. Why you want to torture me instead?" And somehow that officer, he understood, so he let Raghunath Das Goswami go. He said, "But I'm not going to leave your father or uncle." He said, "Yeah, yeah, please come talk to them. You guys are brothers, like brothers, and you will sort it out." And somehow he sorted it out. This is but one instance. Similarly, Sanatan Goswami, after resigning his ministership, was thrown in jail. And he bribed the attendant of the jail so he could leave the clutches of the Nawab and live with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this story will come later. Now we see Ramanand Rai, most confidential devotee of the Lord, diplomatically soften the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, despite the fact that the Lord definitely decided not to meet the king. The diplomacy of Ramanand Rai and entities of Sarvam Bhattacharya and all the other great devotees succeeded. The conclusion is that diplomacy used for the service of the Lord is a form of devotional service. So that is not that that diplomacy cannot be used in the service of the Lord. See, he did not use it to hide some of his crimes or wrongdoings. He did not use diplomacy for some other purpose. It was only to help a devotee. So we have to see how what we are doing. Is it to help a devotee? Is it to serve the Lord? Or is it to serve my ulterior motives? That we have to see. And we might be able to hide it from others, my ulterior motives. We cannot hide it from Paramatma, cannot hide it from Krishna. So sooner or later it's going to come back and bite us. So why? No need to, no need to be shrewd or cunning when it comes to devotion. So that's why Bhakti Siddhant Maharaj said, Saralta hi Vaishnavata. Saralta, simplicity is Vaishnavism. But here, yes, if somebody can help a devotee or serve the Lord by some diplomacy, yeah, fine. But not always. Not always. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.